Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021. I am Andrew Hansen alongside Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. And really today it's March 3rd, but we should really call it 3-3 because three-pointers are big today. It's a three-point challenge on FanDuel, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that today, Coach.
Yeah, you couldn't get much more of an exciting day. It's talk about eating all the hoops you can. We got an incredible 10-game slate, and we have a huge slate tomorrow. So we're watching all these back-to-backs and, keeping tabs on all that info. And then FanDuel puts out this 3-3 special, and we'll be providing our lineups to try to get all 9 of our guys in our roster to hit a 3 and hopefully get a piece of that 33K. So love to have you join us and jump in Discord with us before lock as we put our lineups out and we add this little 3-point special in there. Should be fun.
Yeah, we'll build those for the members, the full lineups on FanDuel that you can play in that contest. If you haven't seen it yet, there's a share of 33,000 to be divided if you can build a lineup where all 9 guys on FanDuel make a three-pointer. So we'll make those specific lineups, but we're also going to do a lineup here on the podcast together. The 2 brains are better than 1 GPP. So that's a slightly different approach without the focus on three-pointers. We're going to allow our guys to make threes in that lineup, but we're not going to try to get everybody to make a 3 in that particular lineup. So we'll work towards that throughout the podcast here and build it as a whole there at the end of the show. And
yes,
we do have 10 games to cover, so we'll go through the night here and hopefully build some big ones here on this 10-game slate. We have 8 of the 20 teams involved in a back-to-back, three totals over 230 on BetUS.com.pa, our presenting sponsor. And the first one, Coach, is not one of them. It's Indiana against Cleveland.
I know it.
Really low total here, 218.5. Indiana favored by 6.5. Island game for both teams. The news is that we have Jeremy Lamb and Doug McDermott questionable. For Cleveland, we have Taurean Prince questionable. So any interest in this one?
I do have interest in this one. And I wanted to make one quick comment just regarding yesterday. We really bailed out and had some great after hours hits because we were forced to with the Kawhi Leonard situation. So what a mess that was, man. Could you believe that?
That was unfortunate for the hybrid lineup you built to not have any indication that he was even questionable, and then the back spasms hit and out he goes.
Incredible. Yeah, that was unreal. So, having 9 guys in my lineup hit a 3, I just want to have 9 guys that play, for Christ's sake. So anyway, I was pumped and psyched for our members with our after hours. We chased it and got it, so it was awesome. Yeah, this first game is interesting. You have Indiana on the first night of a back-to-back. That is correct, right? We have Indiana. Aren't they playing tomorrow?
I'll double check that while you're breaking it down.
Okay, because I had them listed as first night of a back-to-back, but, double check it. 6.5, 218.5, as you mentioned. Defensively, you have Indiana 12th, Cleveland 20th. Pace, not great with Cleveland at 26, but above average with Indiana at 11. Certainly not a great game on a 10-game slate. You really don't have to dive too deep here. Cleveland does slow it down. They stay in games. There's lots of options for both teams. The injury designation doesn't really change a ton. It does hurt a little bit of the depth with Indiana if Lamb and McDermott don't play. But, this game is just not a game I'm super interested in. I do like Colin Sexton. He was amazing for me the last time out. But, Brogdon defense is pretty solid. And, this game, whether or not Indiana hands it to him, we'll see. Cleveland does throw in a clunker with this young team at times. But for the most part, they're competitive. With all of the guys and stacks I'm looking at in this slate, this one might just pass me by and probably move on.
Yeah, I think Sabonis could be dominant here if Dean Wade starts again at the power forward. I don't think he has any chance to stop him. And he was
the greatness of Dean Wade you're going to go against.
Yeah, worth a shot, right? Sabonis, he's crafty. But 9,200 on FanDuel, a little pricey on this slate, like you said, because we want to load up in some of these other high-scoring games. And you are right, by the way. It is a front end of a back-to-back for Indiana. They're going to host Denver tomorrow, so good catch there.
Yeah,
Makes me
because
like.
it affects those top guys, even if it's at 3 or 4 minutes. I'm telling you, man, it's so competitive now. You if you lose 10 points in that last 3 minutes or whatever, you don't get the run, as you know. I mean, it can knock you right out of the pay line.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes me like these guys even less. Brogdon is in a pretty good spot here. Reasonable price tag. We saw what John Wall did against Cleveland. You can really penetrate against those guards and
Yes.
get to the rim. Brogdon hasn't been explosive offensively lately, but this is a chance for him to pile up some fantasy points here while he's out there.
He could be sneaky. His price is a little high, but I do like him though.
Game two, Utah and Philly. And when these guys played recently, that was a shootout, a surprising one in Utah. Remember,
Yeah.
Embiid did not play in that one, and Ben Simmons went nuts. 42
Yeah.
points, almost had a triple double. Now, on the Utah side, Conley was out in that one as well. So, two guys that help on defense and can slow down the pace a little bit, they should be out there tonight. The only questionable tag here in this game is Tobias Harris.
Right.
So there could be an increased usage again for Philly, but with Embiid and Conley back in, I'm not as excited about this game. I don't think it's going to be 247 points scored like it was last time. The
Yeah.
the line here is 3.5 for Utah, 228 total, and these of course are great defenses. Utah number 2 in the NBA, Philly number 3. Good
Tough.
good offenses, but I just think it's going to be lower scoring than last time, and I just don't see myself paying up for these Philly guys. Your man Shake Milton sure was strong last time out. He's only 4,200 on FanDuel. He's a GPP option. On the Utah side, Clarkson, that was the game he scored 40 points,
Yeah.
had an assist. He thought, all right, I've scored 40. Let me throw in one assist here. He's only 5,500 on FanDuel. There's another GPP option, but that's probably it for me. I'm just not looking at this one.
Well, for me, I really need to know that Harris news because if I am going to put a Philly guy in there, it probably would be the value play of Shake Milton again. He seems to be, even though he's not starting and they're using Mike Scott in that spot generally, he's still getting the majority of those extra minutes that Harris normally gets. And, they don't raise his price and he keeps going 7, 8x. I think he's a fine value guy. But if Harris is back, I'm not going to go there. But you hit the nail on the head. I mean, Vegas is no dummy. This is almost 20 points lower of a line than what they did last time they played each other. But we have Conley, who's a tremendous defender throughout his entire career. I know he's lost a little bit, but he still does a great job. And Embiid, I say it every day. I think he's the best defender in the league. Interior. So you put those guys on the floor, it changes the whole complexion of the game. And Philly does push. They're 7th, but Utah obviously controls pace with everybody sitting here at 27-8. They're 21st, and they generally don't let teams get a lot of transition or a lot of steals to transition layups. So I'm with you. I think this game is much closer or below the number. And if Harris doesn't play, I'll possibly look at something from that side of the ball with very likely, value play in Shake. But on Utah's side, at Philly, this game's going to be super interesting because I think it's a somewhat of a statement game. I know Utah, wants to come back and shut down Simmons, from everything that he did with to them in Utah. But, they're rolling Embiid out there with pretty sore wrist and a couple of things bothering him. But I think it's a statement game for them. They're at home. The fact that they're an underdog the way they are in this game at home with the best record in the East, I'm sure they're insulted by that. So I think it'll be a fantastic game to watch. And, if I do need a one-off value guy, I could go to a Bogdanovich or a Conley, uh, and try to have maybe a one-off exposure, even possibly on both sides, but definitely not a game to target when I think both teams are going to clamp down and play hard.
Excellent. All right, game 3 is another 7 o'clock tip. Detroit in Toronto. Hopefully this one plays. Toronto hasn't
Yeah.
played since Friday. Detroit has been off since Sunday. We have Jeremy Grant questionable for Detroit, and we have 3 guys out for Toronto that are sort of important to that lineup.
Yeah.
Siakam, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby. So
Hmm.
some big dominoes to evaluate here with Toronto. What do you have on this one?
Well, I mean, and Flynn is out as well, the shooter off the bench, the youngster that they have. So but I did check right before we jumped on the pod, and they have 9 guys. So even if they lost one more, they should be okay for tonight. So I think this game's going to play. Obviously, the biggest news in this game is Grant. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, if he's out, then it's a whole different conversation on the Detroit side. I mean, his usage numbers, he's right up there with the big boys. And it's funny because these two teams have 2 guys that normally just completely control usage and are very ball dominant in Grant and in Siakam. So if both do sit, there's going to be a bunch of guys that have the potential of stepping up here. Um, I think with Siakam and Van Vliet out, I mean, I don't know how Lowry isn't one of the highest owned players on the slate. I mean, I'm going to start with Lowry. It's just that simple because just from a usage standpoint, I mean, the guy should be all over it. And they're a pretty big favorite here considering they're so shorthanded. So I think this game's going to be unavoidable for a little mini stack with Toronto, even on a 10-game slate. I'm going to go either Lowry and Powell or Lowry and Boucher. If you really want to get cute, you may want to go Bembry at value. He's super low. He should start. So I like that side of the ball. A couple of things here too is defensively they're 17th and 10th, which isn't the greatest. They're 24 and 14 on pace, so not the greatest again. But the circumstances with guys out and usage, I think, is going to just be unavoidable. If Grant plays, I think he's a terrific play. If he sits, then you have to consider a possibility, in my opinion, of a Sadiq Bey or a Mason Plumlee, because all of that scoring usage, it's going to have to go somewhere. I don't quite want to risk with a Smith or Lee or Mikhailuk, anybody like that. I think it's too much of a reach on a 10-game slate. But certainly Bay and Plumlee step to the front of the line, in my opinion, if Grant's out. So, this game is going to have possibly three-man exposure, which is a lot for a 10-game slate. But like I say, with all those guys out, I think it's unavoidable.
Yeah, I'm really interested in Lowry here tonight. He's 8,200 on FanDuel, which I wish he was a little bit lower. How he's been more in the 7K range, but he should just be dominating this game with those guys out. So I agree. He's an important guy tonight, and certainly Powell or Boucher could make the lineup. Bembry, like you said, good value play, likely the starter here. And then the other guys to mention as potential really deep GPP values off the bench would be Watanabe and Davis. But, like on FanDuel, they're all shooting guards, and Bembry's only 300 more than those guys. So I
Right.
would be most likely to play Bembry. And with Detroit, Bay would come into play for me. And Josh Jackson also should get more of an opportunity, but
True.
I don't know if I'll get to him today.
Yeah, he can be a hit or miss guy. Great GPP play though.
Game 4, Brooklyn and Houston. This is the only 7:30 game, and it will have some attention as James
Yeah.
Harden going back to Houston.
Wow.
The Nets favored by 9.5, 228.5 total. And we've got Jeff Green doubtful along with TLC. And
Yeah.
on the Houston side, we have Nawaba and Kuruks out. We also have House and Gordon questionable.
Yeah.
So
That's a lot of pieces there,
Lot of pieces for Houston, but we got to start with Brooklyn and James Harden. Going back to Houston, and they announced recently that they are going to retire his number, which I think is a
Yeah.
no-brainer. I
Yeah.
think it's the right move. And I just am really looking forward to seeing how this one plays out because,
I know it.
Houston they're sixth defensively, but obviously they're really banged up, so they're not the same. They just gave up, what was it, 130 points to Memphis.
Yeah, it's getting
And
ugly.
the
Yep.
problem is they have the number 3 pace. And why is that a problem? Because they push it down the court and then they don't score.
Yeah.
They're 28th in offensive efficiency. So it plays right into the blowouts where you get these extra possessions for the other team while you're not scoring.
Yeah.
And we know that, that Brooklyn is the number 1 offense in the NBA, playing at a historic clip. By the way, if they don't finish as the number 1 offense in the NBA this year, I think they should just be barred from the playoffs
I'll
because
tell you.
with those guys, there's no
It's
excuse.
amazing, especially when they get KD back.
Exactly. So
What is the mindset going to be of Harden, though? It's funny because I was thinking initially he's going to want to go back there and just stick it right in their chops. But isn't it a coincidence that they mentioned like a day ago that they're going to retire his number? Is that because they want him to not be so mad when when he comes back?
no, I just think it's a smart move. Actually, Houston it's been such
Yeah.
a mess this year,
Oh,
and they really do have great memories with Harden. I mean, that was a
sure.
nice era for them. They didn't get the championship, but they could have if Chris Paul hadn't gotten hurt in that
You
game.
bet.
And so I think it's just, hey, let's put everything behind us. Let's celebrate the amazing tenure that he had here,
Yeah.
and get that out early so that there is no more bad blood. And I think, I mean, wouldn't it make sense for Harden to say, let's just go back there and do the old thing here, and let's give the Houston fans a treat. Let's give them 50. And Brooklyn, let's say, you know what, James, go do your thing against these guys. This is your spot. I wouldn't even be surprised if Kyrie sits this one out and says, Harden, go for 60. So the bottom line is I'm going to have a lot of James Harden tonight, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this one plays out. The other guys for Brooklyn, possible one-offs. DeAndre Jordan's a little bit interesting at 5,100, but I'm probably not too interested in a second Brooklyn guy. On the Houston side, we'll see if all those guys are out, House and Gordon, then Wall and Oladipo are in play. I'm also looking at Jayshawn Tate potentially at 4,900. I like that price tag on FanDuel. If House is out, maybe Jayshawn Tate's back in the starting lineup. And then Patton and Sterling Brown are other guys you could get in the 3K range and get exposure to this game where, of course, Brooklyn's 23rd defensively. So Brooklyn should be excited, especially if it's a limited rotation, to get some more value here for these guys. So I'm really looking forward to this one with Harden as the centerpiece.
I'm actually taking the opposite stance here, and I'm going to be probably in about the 10% minority. But I just think Houston, especially if these guys sit, are just in an absolutely terrible space. I mean, they got murdered by 49. They lose outright at home to Cleveland. They keep getting beat and just not looking like they're competitive. And now they're going to be shorthanded on top of that. I mean, I'm telling you right now, Justin Patton should not be in this league. PJ Tucker's just, I think, had it there. I just don't like anything going on with Houston at all. And now these guys are dinged up. So my theory is this: Harden comes back there, has a great first half. Steve Nash is the least kind of coach ever, just like he was as just a humanitarian, the way he's been since after basketball. He's not a guy that runs up any scores. I can tell you right now. If it was D'Antoni in that first seat, I'd say, yeah, he'd leave Harden in to score 80. But
Right.
the combination of what I think will be a serious blowout and the fact that I think Nash will not want to, have Harden rub it in and them run up the score. I think he gets a lot less limited minutes than he normally does. And for me, it could be a huge, slate shifter because he's extremely expensive and he's going to be very highly owned. So I'm gonna shy away from them, and just hope that the scenario that you laid out, which is possible, that doesn't happen. So, you know, as far as any other Brooklyn guys, the only place I would look right now is if Green sits. You can look at a value play of Jordan, or a deep value play with Claxton. But beware with Claxton because he had a really almost perfect game last time he played. So a little more danger there. But again, I don't trust the minutes with anybody here. Um, on the Houston side, I guess, if House and Gordon did both sit, I would say, Wall and Oladipo have to be considered because they're the only other two NBA players to me that are going to be on the floor for Houston. And, we know that Harden and Irving aren't exactly defensive stoppers. So I'm more thinking, depending on some of this news, then Wall and or Oladipo are actually a better target. But again, if they're down 25, midway through the third quarter, then you're going to get a lot of junk the rest of the way. So this will be a stand that isn't super popular, but I think could work out in the right direction.
Yeah, certainly could. All right, game 5 is Atlanta in Orlando, 8 o'clock tip. And this is a back-to-back for Atlanta. They had that low-scoring win against Miami, so they shift across the Sunshine State over to Orlando tonight. They're 3.5-point favorites. Total is 220.5. And for the news on the Orlando side, we have James Ennis out and Fournier questionable. He's always questionable. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, I mean, you've got two defensive teams here, 22nd and 21st, not impressive, but their pace is just as bad, 22 and 16. Fournier is the important news because he takes a lot of shots, man, and they run a lot of plays for him. If he sits, you got to take a look at even a Michael Carter Williams, or you can take a look at certainly Vuk always. I'm not going to dumpster dive on Bacon and Aminu on a 10-game slate, but we need to see that news on Fournier. That's important. He did get hurt in that game and left and then came back. So, it is truly a 50-50 kind of thing. And if he plays, he might not be a bad play himself if he has no restrictions. So we need that news on the Orlando side. On the Atlanta side, Trae Young, since he got snubbed from the All-Stars, has been making a statement and playing well. But, his price is still a concern for me. And I just don't know if this game will have enough pace to really create a situation where, he can get to his number. So that's the concern. That the spread is low with this 3.5 number, but, not sure that's the spot to go. I do really respect Capella's defense, which makes me want to shy away from Vuk just a little bit. And I'm not looking Collins Capella here at their prices. So this is not one of my favorite games by a long shot. And depending on that Orlando news, I could come out empty here.
Yeah, I could also. And I'm interested in Atlanta because Orlando's defense seems to be trending in the wrong direction. They just gave up 130 points to Dallas. They're down to 20th. They were
Yeah, but
higher.
that was Dallas, man.
Right, true. But it is a back-to-back for Atlanta. Their prices are high, like you said, so I'm not probably going to go to these key guys for Atlanta. I'd love to play Bogdanovich at 3,600, but he played 16 minutes yesterday. It was his first game back. I don't even know if he'll play tonight here as we record this at lunchtime. But, we've talked actually on recent shows about guards off the bench against Orlando, and your man Brunson just lit him up. And I think Bogdanovich can as well, but will he get more than 16 minutes? I don't know. So it may have to be we wait for the next game for Bogdanovich and hope that his price is still low. On the Orlando side, I agree. I think Michael Carter Williams is in play. He got back on track last game, got his 29 minutes. Randall didn't get as much play, and he's pretty cheap. And we've got Trae Young on the other side. So I like him. Amino I would consider at his low price as a GPP. so we can pay up for guys like Harden.
Not bad.
You ready to transition to the second half of the slate?
I am. Let me make a real quick mention here. Great time to jump aboard with DFS Coach Talk. Go to our website, dfscoachtalk.com. You can sign up for as little as a 3-day pass for $10, or the special that we have going right now, which is our best deal of the year. It's the BetUS 149 special that you can sign up either way. If you go to betus.com.pa and deposit for the first time with BetUS, $149. Then you just shoot us a message on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. Let us know you signed up, and you get a free membership with us all the way until June 1st. Great, great deal. If you don't want to do the BetUS thing, or you already have an account there, you can just go right to our website, sign up for that same 149 deal, but the one that just goes right directly through Coach Talk. That purchase gets you a membership until June 1. We're doing all kinds of great things. We always have something going with our members. This weekend, we have a really fun contest where we'll be giving out a bunch of coach swag for the All-Star game and the competitions beforehand. Our two brains lineup, you want to, we do that here in front of the paywall, and we try to get all the changes out there to everybody. But in Discord is the best place to make sure you get even the last second changes, because we're in there 30 minutes before lock with full FanDuel and Yahoo lineups and a great coach's clipboard in DraftKings. So that's it. Let's hit this second half.
Right on. Yeah, and this second half of the slate here is fun because we've got the 3 games over 230, and we're going to start with 2 of them.
Yeah.
So big opportunities here for some big point totals and big fantasy point outputs. We're going to look at Charlotte and Minnesota first here, 8 o'clock tip. Charlotte favored by 1, 232.5 total. And big news here for Charlotte with Cody Zeller, Gordon Hayward questionable. Graham is out. Yep. So we've got the potential for the extra minutes, for these deeper rotation guys like we saw against Portland and Sacramento. And then on the Minnesota side, I'm not seeing any injury news there. We, of course, still have Beasley out. And when these guys played before, they put up 234 points. Beasley scored 31, and Graham played in that game. So with those guys out, real opportunity here for these guys to step up and put up big numbers. So I am looking at the Charlotte guys. LaMelo really looked great against Portland, getting 30 points, pushing it, getting to the rim. Rozier got back on track a little bit after that dud. And by the way, when these guys played before, Rozier scored 41 against Minnesota. We saw Booker just score over 40 against these guys. They're 24th defensively. They just cannot stop these talented guards on the wings. So I like LaMelo and Rozier. And then we'll just have to see what happens with the rest of the lineup. Cody Martin started the last game, paid off value. Caleb Martin paid off value off the bench. Bismack Biyombo started again. He's 3,800. I think that could be an option against Cat. So we'll see about Zeller's availability. And then we can't forget about Malik Monk. 4,900 as a small forward on FanDuel. Could be another smash spot for him. On the Minnesota side, I'd like to get one of these guys to run it back. Cat is a little bit expensive for me probably, so I may look more towards an Anthony Edwards. The problem is on FanDuel here, as we're going to build this 2 brains lineup, a lot of shooting guards that are attractive tonight. Edwards and Rozier are 2 of them, so I will likely get one of those guys in most of my lineups though, and make sure I have exposure to this one.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this game completely depends on the news for me. This may be my highest owned game if Hayward and Zeller are playing or not playing, and I'll explain why. First of all, I'm playing LaMelo Ball. He's been the quarterback of all my winning lineups here the last week, and he gets to play against the only team that passed on him. Well, he went third, but the team that could have taken him number 1, And so don't think that he is going to forget about that, and that'll give him a little extra motivation. And so I think he's, since Graham's been out and he and Rozier are running back there together, it's terrific. They've been just awesome, and they have another storybook matchup here against Minnesota. Now, Rozier certainly in play for me also. The question I have, though, is if Hayward plays, it's going to take usage away from both Melo and Rozier. So then I don't go more than one player in that scenario. But if Hayward sits, I have put both Rozier and LaMelo in my lineups. Rozier had one bad game in the last week or so, was an outlier. But other than that, they both just smashed. And, so if Hayward sits, I very well could go with the full backcourt there. And if he plays, probably just one. The Zeller news makes this the more important to me. I know it sounds silly, but Zeller plays about 20 to 24 minutes, but he's not a great defender by any stretch, but he's a strong body. He's the kind of guy that gives Cat trouble because he's physical. He's going to get an arm bar on him. He's going to move him around. And, Cat has a tendency, when he gets jammed around pretty physical, he backs down a little bit. I mean, he's just, that's not his game. He's a finesse center. So if Zeller doesn't play, we're talking about guarding him with the Biombos, who's undersized, PJ Washington, who will not make one of my lineups for a long time after that dud that he threw up there the other day. So I will consider paying up for Cat, specifically if Zeller's sitting. And, it's an odd way to look at it, but it's really what I think would be the difference. I think Cat with the Zeller sitting type of scenario could be the highest scorer on the entire slate. But at his price, if Zeller does get 20 to 24, I think it brings Cat down enough notches, one or two notches to, make it where he probably just barely get 5x. So all news there is going to dictate the way I play that game. Again, based on those two scenarios, it could be one guy and out for me, probably with LaMelo, or it could be a good chunk of my salary with several guys if the chips fall right.
Okay. Let's go to the next 8 o'clock game. Another great total here, 237, as Chicago is going to play New Orleans. Yeah. Pelicans favored by 5.5 here. It is the front end of a back-to-back for them. They're going to host Miami tomorrow. We've got Lauri Markkanen now back on the injury report as doubtful for Chicago, and everybody ready to go for New Orleans. So another high total here. Will you keep any spots open for this one?
I mean, you have to. I mean, I think this is the best game of the remaining 4 games. And, you've got the 19th and second to last defense in the entire league right now. So, the Pelicans are really struggling stopping guard penetration. And I don't know what the problem is there, but they're 4 games under 500 with that loaded lineup and just aren't defending well whatsoever. And Chicago can score it. Chicago's the 6th fastest pace in the league. New Orleans right about in the middle of the pack, but they seem to have been playing quicker of late. So there's tons of considerations in here. If the scenario doesn't fall into place for my Charlotte, Minnesota high pay side, this may be a game I look at paying up. I mean, I think, Levine is certainly has to be at least into consideration. And then Williamson on the other side has been utterly unstoppable, taking it to the hoop, just incredibly efficient. And they need wins, so they're going to play their guys. Those are the 2 big pay-up guys I would consider. Not as high on Ingram today because I think he'll get some Temple defense and Valentine, different guys coming in there that are good defenders that can bother him. And then same thing with who was I looking at? The other fade for me was not Kobe White. I think Kobe White's in play. I'm not crazy about Lonzo Ball's defense. But, there is, concern a little bit Bledsoe does get after some on defense, but he's going to be undersized against Levine. And, I think Levine can shoot over him, but it's, we're going to have to see, salary wise, what's there. Levine is really expensive. But this high total, makes you really want to have some exposure here, even if it's the value guys, like a Williams or Temple or Bledsoe or Hart off the bench. There are options there. Not crazy about the bigs with Carter and Adams and that rotation of guys that they're utilizing, even though Carter's playing better. But, I think this really is going to be the game that I have to go back to once I see how the other salary lays out. And I definitely want exposure from this game. I think it's a really DFS points friendly game. And, picking the right guys isn't a really easy blueprint on this game, but it can really pay off if you pick the right ones.
Yeah, as exciting as this game is, because of the salaries, I may not end up with as many guys as I'd like. I am looking at both guards for Chicago. Remember, when these guys played before, they put up 245 points, and the Bulls set a record with 17 threes between Kobe and Levine. Kobe had
Yeah.
8, Levine had 9. Levine almost scored 50 points, and Kobe got to 30. And this is something we've done here a lot recently. Targeted wing players against New Orleans. Beal
Yeah.
absolutely torched them, and no better candidate than Levine. He is 9,800 on FanDuel, very pricey. With New Orleans, same thing. It's a pace up game here as Chicago's fifth, but Zion 8,900 on FanDuel. He is also the guy I'd like to play the most, but do we have enough salary for him? And I do like Lonzo here at 6,900, but so many good guards on this slate. He may get lost in the shuffle. He'd be a low owned option for sure.
It's amazing how many good point guards are on this whole deal here. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
I've got
Well,
like 10 listed.
yeah. And in the next game, Oklahoma City and Dallas, there's a pretty talented point guard named Luca. I don't know if you've ever seen him or paid attention to him, but he
I,
plays for the
I
Mavericks.
stopped watching the Mavs after my man Dirk here retired. I don't
Yeah,
even know
there's
who Luca is.
yeah, there's nobody to watch there that's very entertaining. But he might not be out there tonight. He's questionable, and this is enormous news on this slate. Obviously, it'll change this game. And then if he sits, maybe it's Porzingis time. Are they going to feature him, get him a ton of shots, and show what he can do as the leader of a team? Uh, with that potential, I am interested in Porzingis here.
Interesting.
And if Lucas sits, I think you have to look at Brunson, fair price as a starter. Maybe a one-off certainly could be in the mix with a guy like Richardson or DFS to get a few more shots without Luka out there. They're very cheap, but for me, it's mostly Porzingis here on this side. Decent pace game here. The total's 223. Dallas favored by 5.5. It's a front end of a back-to-back for Oklahoma City. So we'll see if anything changes with that. We know that Diallo is out again. If we'll see with Diallo out, I'm not really too interested in anybody for Oklahoma City. I do want to mention one value play though, Ty Jerome,
Yeah.
3,600 off the bench in his 2 games here since he's been called back up, 22 and 30 minutes and fantasy points of 30 and 19. So he's been right around 6 or 7x. And with Diallo out, he's going to be the guy really involved with that second unit. So he's a GPP option for me. And then I also wanted to mention if Luka plays, I'm not going to play him because of Dort, that Swiss Army knife defender for OKC. I think he'll get a bunch of possessions against Luka and make life hard for him, and that salary just won't get paid off tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had some inside skinny with Luca, but I really don't. It's 50-50, so we got to keep an eye on that. Um, because it does change the whole complexion of the game without question. I mean, if he does sit, I think Jalen Brunson's probably the best value play on the slate. So he'll definitely be in play for me if he's going to go. And then or not going to play Doncic. And then, Doncic is such an incredibly uh, ball dominant usage guy. It's unreal. So it does open up the ability to roster another Mavericks guy that would step up, whether it be Hardaway, Richardson, somebody of that nature. Now I don't know about Porzingis. I'm not feeling super comfortable with him. I just don't like his attitude, his body language. I know he could smash. He's taken a lot of shots, and he's taken some bad shots actually. So I mean, it's a risk reward kind of thing. But no interest in him really if Luka plays. To me, it is extremely tempting if Luka sits, and that's really the way I see it on that side. I'm with you on the value play of Ty Jerome. I don't think he's just a GPP play. I think if he gets in this game 25 to 30 minutes again, I think he could be very effective. Dallas doesn't do a great job with perimeter defense other than Jay Rich, and he'll be guarding Shea. So, I think that really gives an opportunity for Jerome to come off the bench and do some damage. After that, really not interested in the interior guys for OKC. I usually like to play centers against Dallas, but, Al Horford's terrific. I just don't know if he'll has enough upside with the complete total minutes played scenario there. So, again, I need the news here. This may be my value game where I may come out with Jerome and a low-owned Jerome and a low-owned Brunson. Now, we'll see. If Luka gets scratched off, everybody in the industry is going to be running to Brunson, so it'll change. But I think those two guys are the best value, and I'd prefer to use my upper salary elsewhere.
All right. Well, there's an opportunity for some upper salary in this next game. Golden State and Portland. The matchup of Steph and Lillard. It's in Portland tonight. 234.5 total. Golden State favored by 2. Both teams on the front end of a back-to-back here.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing any injury news here for this one. So have at it.
Yeah, this is a tough game to figure, man. I mean, it's a 2.5 point spread, like you said, 234.5. Fifth rated defense for Golden State is a little bit scary, but Portland's 28th. They haven't been stopping anybody. Pace is good. Golden State, second fastest team in the league, Portland 19th. So they're going to get up and down. There's going to be points scored here. This slate is just unbelievable. I mean, there's so many good guards. Curry and Lillard deserve to be mentioned with everybody else today. I mean, they are both very, very smashable in this game against each other. And I think you could go either side here. They do have games today and tomorrow before the break. I'm hoping that the coaches, knowing that after these two games, the players are going to get some time off. Now, Curry won't and Lillard won't because they're both on the All-Star team. So, does that weigh into coaches' thinking? I know if I'm Kerr or Stotts, it's going to affect my thinking. So, as bad as I want to play Curry and Lillard, and as great a plays as I think they are, I'm just worried about full extension minutes based on the back-to-back and the All-Star game coming. So that is my only hesitance there. Other guys you can look at here, I think Canner has just been a model of consistency. I think he can do well in this game. If you want mid-price guys that can also smash a slate, especially in an up-tempo game like this, Wiggins, Oubre, Trent, even Derrick Jones Jr. and Covington have both stepped up recently. And then Draymond's price is a little high now. And so I pretty much mentioned almost everybody in this game, but that's how I really feel about it. It's a game I think you really can benefit having some exposure. I'm not going to quite go up to the top two guys, but would not be surprised if they were 50 burgers both ways. So not much insight from me on this one other than I do want to have some exposure mid-price.
Yeah, this is kind of a scary one, isn't it? Because Lillard and Steph could both go off against each other, but it's a front end of a back-to-back for both teams. So I am likely going to stay away from this one, not spend up. I like how Draymond and Covington have been playing recently for the most part, but now they're going to be spending some time against each other. So it takes away from both of them. And I don't really like, how Wiggins has played lately. Oubre has been a little bit better, but it's just one of these games that I wish it wasn't on this slate, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if I fade it, I'm concerned that we can get some guys to spike. But just looking at the context of the game and the price tags, I'm not really motivated for any particular player here.
Yeah. And yeah, it's scary. I'm with you 100%. Same thought. You don't want to fade it, but you feel like you may have to fade it. One of those, not too fun situations.
Exactly. All right, last game here before we build our two brains are better than one lineup. We've got the Lakers in Sacramento, a California battle here that is not going to include LeBron. He's going to sit this one out. First game of the season that he's missed. And he's not feeling good because his Lakers just lost to Phoenix last night by 10 at home. And lots of other question marks here with Los Angeles. We've got Kuzma questionable because he sat out the last one. Caruso's questionable in my book because he left early with a neck issue. Gasol is questionable, if not doubtful, because he sat out the last one for health and safety protocols. Right. So a lot of openings here with the Lakers. And on the Sacramento side, Hassan Whiteside and Halliburton have already been ruled out. And then we've got Jabari Parker and Buddy Hield questionable. So big challenge here is figuring out who's going to play, especially since it's the 10 o'clock game. We're not going to have that news most likely at the beginning of the slate. Now, so all we can really do here is sort of make our best prediction. And what I'm looking at is a big opportunity for Schroeder here to have enormous usage without LeBron, without AD. And we know that the Kings are not good defensively. They're 30th still.
Terrible.
So for everybody who's out there for the Lakers, it's a great opportunity. I'm looking at the starters as Schroeder, KCP, Harrell, I think, will start again if Gasol is out. And by the way, Harrell got poked in the eye in the first half last night, and then he had to leave the game, and it was just a mess. He didn't even get to 20 minutes because of that. I think he's a much better spot here against Holmes and Sacramento. Markieff Morris starting again, most likely. He's had about a 6x return here, two games in a row. Talen Horton-Tucker, I think, is a big value play to consider. He's going to have a lot of usage. I mean, imagine if LeBron and Caruso are out. Then who's going to run the second unit? It's THT.
It is.
On the Sacramento side, same thing. If Hield is out, then all of a sudden we've got a couple of, Hield and Halliburton. That leaves a gaping hole. Maybe Corey Joseph starts at a very cheap price.
Yeah.
So you could look at him. I like Holmes as well. I like both centers here because the guy on the other side is not too interested in playing defense other than trying to block shots. So those are two options. And man, this one is just, it could go a few different ways. And I'm going to have to remind myself to try to leave a spot for at least one play here because I think this game could get forgotten because of these other high totals before it, but we're going to have guys that are pretty cheap have monster minutes.
No question. And that's going to be my strategy tonight. I'm going to roster two guys from this game, probably like Schroeder and Harrison Barnes or Fox, and TNT, some combination of two where it's going to give me the ability to swap out as the card goes on, and also give me some opportunity to swap out amongst this game. And it also, if in an emergency, can, with the other 10 o'clock game being Golden State and Portland, if I'm forced to put in one of those guys, I'm happy with it. There's good options there. I think the mistake people can make is being afraid of not knowing how this game's going to play out with all these question marks and not leaving any spots. I think you're going to see, I've seen this trend lately in the industry, and I think this is an important point, and it's the kind of stuff that we really follow here at Coach Talk because we're always looking for an edge. I'm finding on these big slates, when there's question marks in the late games, people say, screw it, I don't want to be bothered with it, and they make their whole lineups, and then what they do is they'll play the late night slate that has the 2 late games in it. So if they're going to watch them, then they'll have exposure there, and by then they'll know what the situation is. Now that's all well and good, but guess what? If are really sharp here and you leave those couple of spots open, if you will, by rostering a few guys in those late games, and then pay attention as things are going, and then put those guys in, it can give you a monster edge, because I've seen at least 3 or 4 really good late game plays that are just like 1/3 of the ownership they would normally be, because they didn't know how the dominoes were going to fall with the questionable tags. So take advantage of this game. I think this game could be a really good game if some of these other guys sit. Exactly what you said. Guys like Taylor Horton Tucker could be a monster if those guys don't play. Schroeder is going to be highly owned. I think he's going to deserve it. Fox, it's just a question if you have the salary. But if Hield sits, I really like Fox and Barnes, because from a usage standpoint, they're going to get up and down, and they defend nobody. So LA's going to score. They're going to get down and score. And I actually like the over in this game too. It's only 225.5 because of the LeBron news, and they figure there's too many guys hurt. But some of the guys that are hurt are good defenders, Caruso, Whiteside, etc. I think this game goes up. So it's one of my favorite over bets here on the slate, and I want at least 2 men exposure in it, and I think it could be sharp.
Excellent. All right, well, let's see how this plays out in our 2 brains are better than one lineup.
All right.
We're going to build it on FanDuel for everybody. Again, follow us on Twitter to see if there are any late changes. We're at DFS CoachTalk. And, Coach, I'm going to let you make the first selection.
Okay, first selection. Wow, that's a lot of responsibility.
Yes, it is. Don't take it lightly.
No. How about if we go right to, I don't know if I want to pay up on you right off the schneid here, or, I'm going to just pay up and take the guy that I want. I want LaMelo Ball at 8,600.
Interesting. Okay.
I know he's expensive, and when you say interesting, that means you don't like my pick. I'm okay.
I think if I had
it's a little costly.
If I had to pick one guy, it would be Rozier out of that backcourt.
You can still take him.
Yeah. All right, we'll see how it plays out.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Porzingis at 78. And again, just assume.
Dirk, can you please step in here, please?
Luke? No, he's smiling. Look at that smile on Dirk's face. He likes it.
He's swearing. You can't hear him, but he's smiling and swearing because he doesn't want to take him. But that's okay. I can root for a Maverick. I've done it before.
Yes, you have.
I'm going to get crazy on you here and take this super duper low price dude that a lot of people say is only a GPP play. I don't agree. I think at 3,600, he's going to make our lineup work. And I'm going to take Ty Jerome.
All right. You're going to be cheering for him as you watch Porzingis, and I'm forcing you to cheer for Porzingis too.
I will cheer for both of them. Hopefully they assist each other in scoring with Ole defense.
Absolutely. Hopefully Porzingis doesn't find a way to block any of Jerome's shots, or if he does, Jerome can get the rebound and put it back.
Yeah, he blocks 3 in a row, right back to Jerome, who gets 3 of them and shoots and then scores.
Exactly. All right. Well, oh man, I was thinking about not playing Harden here because you really didn't want to.
Right.
I do think we need Harden or Levine.
Yeah.
But after that super value play for Jerome, it's certainly a possibility.
It opens the door up for sure.
Oh man, why don't I'll wait on that decision for one pick here and see what happens. I'm going to go with Michael Carter-Williams at 4,800 as our other point guard.
Very nice. I like that pick a lot. And if you're not totally against this, since you sort of showed your cards there, I'd like to take Levine and save the money, and I think he could have an epic game here.
Well, he better, because I think Harden could have an epic game too, so we'll see.
I know. Sorry, that's not a blocker. I just, I just want to make sure we have enough cash. Look at this. We're sitting great, 63.50. If we blow all that on Harden, then we're scratching. So we're good.
All right. I'm going to make a pick here right in the middle of our average salary that's remaining. I'm going to go with Norman Powell and make sure we get some Toronto exposure because we can't get
Smart.
Lowry in this lineup anymore. So let's get Powell in there at 6,800.
Very nice. And you read my mind. You know my next pick,
I wasn't sure of your next pick, so
Chris Boucher. I was
okay.
thinking the same thing. Toronto, we want that Toronto deal. So we've got two guys and a cool 12 grand. Look at that.
Interesting. Let me get Boucher in here. Okay. Now let me see if I make that selection at center.
Basically, you're making both selections here,
I
really.
know. So let's look ahead here. Ooh. Okay. All right, I'm gonna see how it plays out. There's two guys at 3,800 at center that I'm
Wow.
interested in tonight. Patton and Biombo. I know you don't really like either one of them.
If you take either one of those guys, I'm gonna forfeit.
Well, see, that's what I did. I looked to see what happens if I do, and
Oh,
you're going to be left with a pretty good option. So we can pivot.
are you really gonna take Patton or Biombo?
I'm gonna
What if Zeller plays?
Then we take him out. Simple
And
as
what if
that.
Patton gets sent back to the rec league?
They can't. They need him. Christian Wood is not walking onto that court tonight.
Oh
I'm
God.
I'm gonna put I'll put Biombo in there for now. 3,800. See if you like what you're left with at small forward.
I got to pull out the old Italian word my grandmother used to say when she'd get pains here. She'd say, I have agita right here. All right. I can't believe I'm putting Biombo in this lineup on this slate. But, this is why it's two brains are better than one, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see
Courageous.
what you think about what's left. I mean, I'm not thrilled with this pay up small forward,
Really?
but
8,200 is a lot.
yeah,
I don't really want Ingram
I know
against.
that's the thing. Yeah,
Oh, shucks. I'd rather take Barnes,
yeah.
but then that would allow you 1,400 if you want to buy up from Biombo.
Let's see if we had 5,200. If we get excited about anybody, Steven Adams. We could go with DeAndre Jordan at 51.
I would be literally ecstatic if we did that. Not that I'm trying to sway you either way,
All
but
right. Well, we can do it. Let's
what a team player
let's
you are.
send you into the afternoon on a high here with
That's
DeAndre
it,
Jordan.
man. I feel like we're winners right now just from that move.
Just don't complain if Patton blocks 8 of his shots.
If Patton outscores DeAndre Jordan, I'll eat my notes on the next show at the beginning of the
Wow.
game.
All right.
Put a little salt and pepper, and I'll eat them.
Okay. All right. Well, there is the lineup. I hope you all enjoyed that. It was fun. We'll throw that one out there today here at the lunch hour. And
Read that one off. It's such a wacky sounding lineup,
yeah,
but hey,
it's LaMelo Ball, Michael Carter Williams, Zach LaVine, Ty Jerome, Norman Powell, Harrison Barnes, Porzingis, Boucher, and DeAndre Jordan. So
what a conglomeration there. That would take down a GPP, I think.
we'll see if there are any changes to it. We will announce them on Twitter. Could be a last second change though that may not get there. So certainly invite you guys to join us as members if you haven't already. So go straight to our website dfscoachtalk.com and sign up. Or the BetUS offer, tremendous. It's right there on the bottom of the screen on YouTube.
Can't beat it.
Sign up and then let us know on Twitter, DFS Coach Talk. We'll get you into our
And just
Discord.
remember, if you're watching this on not to interrupt, but I know we're up against the clock here. If you're watching this on YouTube, like with the thumbs up, please subscribe and hit that button. People are forgetting to do that. We have so many listeners that shoot us messages. They're not even subscribing, so please do that. Okay, Andrew, I'm done.
Yeah, we'd love that, and we'll love to see you again tomorrow. We'll be back right here for a big NBA slate as we look to crush it in DFS.